Hey everyone, my name's Becky and I'm going to be giving you a video tutorial on how I made a mermaid costume out of a bridesmaid's dress. I just wanted to let you know this is my first video tutorial on how to make something, and it's kind of a little bit longer than I wanted, mostly because it's my first one and I'm not that good with editing, so hopefully if I do another one, it'll get a little bit shorter and easier to understand. But enjoy, and thank you for watching. I actually already finished my costume, but after I finished it, I realized I wanted to make a tutorial, so we're going to use Alicia, and this is my friend's little sister, and we were in the same wedding, so this is the same exact dress that I used, except mine. The first thing you want to do is figure out where you want to cut the dress in half, because pretty much this is going to be the top of the costume and then the rest is going to be the bottom. I pretty much cut right above my natural waistline, so right about like here, you're going to want to make a mark and then cut that, and then set the top aside, and we'll come back to the top later. Okay, I have the dress laid out. You want to lay it out on a flat surface, and this particular dress actually has boning in a couple spots. Make sure you don't use your fabric scissors on the boning, but right now you don't have to worry about cutting the boning, because actually I'm going to cut just below it, which is like right about here. This dress also has a zipper in the back, and what I decided to do was I wanted the skirt, the bottom part of the costume, to actually be able to zip. So you want to bring the zipper all the way down and then cut. That way you can have your zipper for the skirt, and then later I'll show you how we keep the top on, how I did that. So we're just going to cut. Anyway, I don't know why I said that. Alright, so you set your top aside. We'll come back to this later. And then make sure you sew a couple stitches on the top of the zipper. That way when you're trying the skirt on later and you zip it up, you don't want to lose the pull part to it. That's very important. Take the lining out. You're not going to need it. Once you cut the top half from the bottom half, you want to turn the skirt inside out, and like I said, don't worry about the lining because you don't really need it for anything. It's about the only thing you're not going to need. Then you want to take a marking tool, and you want to draw basically the shape of a mermaid on both sides. So you pretty much just start from the hip and kind of just draw a mermaid shape. It doesn't really have to be perfect. You want to try and get it as even as you can, but it's basically like a crescent shape, and then you want it to like flare back out down at the bottom, so it'll look something like that. You come on the other side. Okay, so after you mark the shape of a mermaid, fin, tail, whatever, you want to put the skirt back on inside out, and you want to pin along the line that you made. And I, for some reason, made the line on the back, which probably would have been helpful if it was made on the front, but you know, it's really not that big of a deal. In the end, it won't matter. So just pin all the way down. Then make sure you do the same thing to the other side. Okay, once you get both sides pinned up, you're going to draw a new line just on the inside of your pins, and then just sew from up here all the way down to the edge, all the way down to the bottom. And then kind of when you start up here, just follow the seam for a little bit before you come down. It'll just make it lay nicer. And then once you do that, turn the skirt inside out. Don't cut this excess fabric off until you are certain on the fit. It's easier to take a seam out than to try and make something bigger when all the fabric's gone. Okay, this next step, originally I did show it with using Alicia, but once I got home and looked through all the video, I realized it didn't actually get recorded. I went through it all, but it didn't get recorded, and didn't know if I'd have time to go back and, you know, use her again. So I'm just gonna walk through these next steps with you. So after you sew the side seams and it fits, a couple things you're gonna have to do to this skirt. One, I would definitely make sure you cut the excess fabric along the seam. As you can see here, I cut it, and try and cut it a little bit as even as you can on both sides, and set those pieces of fabric aside, and I'll show you what I did with them later. The next thing you want to do is, this particular skirt actually ended up having a seam that went up the middle back of the dress, which was perfect because I just pretty much opened that seam up all the way up till about past my knee, up above my knee, and you want to do that because you want to be able to walk comfortably. After you do that, then you just want to make sure you kind of fold up that edge and just sew that seam up, because it'll be nicer if you do that. Then I recommend doing this with the skirt on, but you know, make sure the skirt's on the, you know, not inside out, but on the right way. You want to fold your hem down up along your waist, fold it down to where you want it, make sure it's, you know, as even as you can get it. Pin, you should be able to pin that part yourself. I did it myself. And then just make sure the zipper and the back is as even as you can get it. Mine isn't super even, but it's close enough. And then make sure when you're sewing that seam around your waist, you stitch a couple times over the zipper. You don't want to, like I said earlier, you don't want to pull this off. I'm sure it would just be a pain in the butt. Also on mine, when I did mine, I feel like it didn't fit the way I wanted it, but I didn't feel like making two whole new seams to make it fit a little bit tighter. So what I did with the skirt on is I just grabbed the back of the dress. I'm going to try and show this to you. I don't even know if you'll be able to tell. I just kind of grabbed the back of the dress right about where my bum is, and I just kind of pulled it a little bit tight, and then I just made a quick seam just a couple inches down, and then it kind of just, I don't know, ended up laying kind of cool. And let me see where it's at. It's only from here to here, so about 6 or so inches. That step is optional, but I ended up using it as just part of something extra to do with the skirt. So I think that is it for this part. Yeah, and so now we're on to the top. So now that your skirt's done, now you want to work on your top. I left the boning in because it still just will help with the shape, and it's already in there, so why tear it out? The only thing you're going to have to do is cut a little bit of the boning off. That's if your dress has it, up enough to be able to fold up these raw edges. So basically you just fold these edges up all the way across, and then you sew. And this is a pink right here. Actually, it's easier to do this. I don't know why I'm doing that one. Alright, so now that you got this edge all pinned, you just sew a line across, and that's pretty much it for the bottom. I didn't make any of my hems finished because it's a costume, and I just didn't really think it was important. I mean, if you want to do the extra work, that's completely up to you, but I am not doing that. Alright, so this particular dress came with a tie, and this tie is what I use to turn the top into a halter style top. Do you care if I cut this? No. So I'll show you what I did. I just cut it in half, and then I cut it in half again. Alright, so I used these ones, or with the finished edge, I used for the back, and I just pretty much put it along the zippers where I pinned it. And then for this one, I mean, you can figure out where the strap needs to be with your dress, but this top particular was pretty much like right about here. Kind of wish I had some music on for you right now. So, once those are all sewed on, I mean, you can leave it like this, but I wasn't really happy with that look, and I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. So, I was just kind of playing around with it, and I came up with this. I just grabbed the middle, and then just tied a piece of scrap fabric around it. And that is how I got the shape of my top. So, well, I mean, it doesn't look, maybe a little too tight. Plus the pins are still in it, but you get the idea. And so that's how you construct it, and I'll show you how I embellished it in a second. So the two pieces of fabric that you cut out from the skirt, I told you to set aside. You don't have to do this, but I did this as just a little something extra. I made like a fin, an extra fin, and you're gonna wear it like so. And then you can draw, you know, whatever scales you want on there. Basically, you just get a couple pieces of elastic and size them to your upper arm and wrist, and then sew on to the right side of the fabric where you want them to be, and you want to do that first. Then you turn the fabrics right sides together and sew along the shape of it, and then make sure you leave yourself a little opening, that way you can turn the fabric, you know, inside out so it's, you know, right side facing, because if you sew all the way around, you're not going to be able to. And then you can either hand sew this shut, or if you're not worried about, you know, a seam showing, you can just use a sewing machine. And excuse me, and that's it for the fins, and you can decorate it however you want. So now that the costume's all complete, you want to embellish it. I found this picture online, and that's how I use like the inspiration for my scales and my fin. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do it, but I just basically went with what I thought it was going to be easiest, which was just drawing diagonal lines. So the first thing I did was hot glue gun this rope on. I just got two pieces of rope and twisted them together, and then used some hot glue to make them stay together a little bit better, and then just kind of glued it on where I thought it would lay nice. I started a hot glue gun on these beads, or marble accents that you put like in fish bowls, but I figured probably be best to finish doing that like at the very end, like right before I'm about to wear it, because one actually already popped off, so I don't want to have to put them on over and over again. Then I used 3 different colors of fabric paint, and that's how I drew on the scales. Actually, what I did first was grab a marker and mark where I wanted it, and then I followed that line. I got these glitter pens right here, but they don't last very long, so I wouldn't waste your money on them. But like I said, you can draw your scales however you want, and then down here I drew just straight lines to mimic a fin, kind of. I'm not an artist, so I mean, it's not that great, but you get the point. And I pretty much just, where this dress flared out is where I decided to make the straight line and then make the fin. And then on the back, what I did was, I told you earlier about the faux fin that I kind of made. That's what I did, is I started the line up here and just went all the way down. And then you can see the seam, you know, it's up pretty high, but if you don't do that, you're just not going to be able to walk comfortably. You'll be shuffling and it's going to look dumb. So then I just took some glitter spray and sprayed it, which I will probably spray more later. As for the top, I just hot glue gunned on some seashells and stuff that I got at Joann's, and I spray painted in black a little bit, but not completely black. I wanted a little bit of color. I found this pretty fabric that I thought really went well with the mermaid theme, and ended up going over the original piece of fabric that I used. And then just hot glue gunned a couple more of these beads on there. What I'm going to do with my hair is put in extensions and just have someone curl it and put in a couple black pieces. And I'm getting fangs and black contacts. And then I'm going to get a Triton too. And that's going to be my costume. I'll show you the finished look later, because I really don't want to have someone do my makeup like that extensive more than once. And then my friend is actually going to be an evil red mermaid, and we're trying to get someone to be a pirate that we turn. So it's going to be like a group costume. But like I said, you can do whatever you want with it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hope you had as much fun, or will have as much fun as I did making this, because it was a lot of fun and I was really proud of it. So, well, that's it. Like I said, I'm very sorry that it was so long. I know most tutorials I've watched are usually around 5 or 6 minutes. I did my best, but I just couldn't. I just didn't have the capabilities. But if you use it and you actually made a costume, please, I would love to see it. And if you have any questions or need help or anything like that, just leave a comment. I'll try my best to do what I can, and have a happy and fun and very safe Halloween.